Hello, everyone, and welcome to Max Sensei's online English lesson. This time it's number 22. Oh my goodness, we've had a long run. And today we have a very special lesson. We're going kind of back to psychology, the study of human behavior. And this time we're going to talk about humans' communication. But it's a very special communication because it doesn't use language. Okay? We're talking about something called nonverbal communication. So I'm going to make a conversation without speaking. Let me know if you understand. Okay? So there's two people in this conversation. Person number one. Person number two. All right, person number one. All right, so I hope you understood that conversation. That's a little embarrassing to act out. But person number one is asking, how much is this, right? This and this is money. So, how much? Question? How much? And the shopkeeper says, that is 100, as in 100 yen or something like that. And then the customer says, this. What does this mean? This means okay, and gives him some money and enjoys his nice chocomint kikkoman soy milk. It is delicious, actually. Okay, so today we're talking about nonverbal communication, and today's article is going to talk about an interesting experiment about nonverbal communication with people from other countries. It's pretty interesting. Let's get into it. So, again, I'm going to read the article, talk about 5 vocabulary words, and then 5 discussion questions. Let's start. Nonverbal communication: what we say with our bodies. Every culture and most countries have their own language, and they use their language to communicate with each other. But communication is not just about talking with words, it's also a communication of body language. Body language is also called nonverbal communication, and it is defined as the transmission of messages or signals through a nonverbal platform, such as eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, and posture. When we think of communication, we think about a message being sent from one person and another person receiving that message. But nonverbal communication is different. Many messages are being sent and received at the same time by both people. And now, in a more connected world, with a mixture of cultures meeting each other, it is very important for us to understand nonverbal communication from other countries. But it's not so easy. In my experience, when I first came to Japan, I didn't understand the veiled expression of Japanese people, what they call tatemae. And I encountered many uncomfortable or confusing situations. I asked someone if it was okay to leave early from work because I had to go to the dentist. The coworker, he sucked in his breath and said, I'm not sure. Now, now I understand that he was very politely telling me that I shouldn't leave early. However, at that time, I didn't understand his nonverbal communication. Sucking in his breath through his teeth showed disagreement and difficulty. Tilting his head to the side was also like shaking his head no. Now that I have lived here for more than 12 years, I can understand the subtle nonverbal messages that are being sent by Japanese people. Okay, let's look at an experiment that a documentary film crew called Crossing Borders Films made about people from different cultures interacting with each other. The experiment put young people from America, Morocco, and China together in a room and made them interact and examined how much they could understand based on nonverbal communication. The Moroccan student said she felt uncomfortable at first because she knew stereotypes about American people. But when she entered the room, her stereotypes faded away and was replaced by the personalities of the individual people. Of course, the people in the experiment couldn't speak English with each other, and they often felt frustrated because the traditional communication methods didn't work. The American student thought the Chinese student was annoyed at him because he kept making a sound. In China, means that they are listening, they're paying attention. However, in America, it could be a sign of disrespect. The Moroccan student put his arm around the American student as a way of showing friendship. This is usually only done in America between close friends. So the American student was surprised, but it helped them understand different cultures. One last observation was the level of passion in speaking. The Chinese student thought the Americans were very passionate when they communicated, but the Moroccans thought the Americans were not passionate enough. Each culture has a different level of comfort, passion, emotion, and directness. The young people in the experiment learned a variety of ways to communicate with each other. A variety of ways to communicate with other cultures using nonverbal communication. And they were better able to understand each other. Learning about these nonverbal languages can give people a new way of studying culture and be able to communicate with people from around the world. All right, so I shared a personal experience, and it really happened. For it happened not just once, many times. Once I asked if I could leave work early to go to the dentist. The coworker said, "That's difficult." For me, "that's difficult" doesn't mean no. For me, it means I can, but be careful next time, or something like that. So I left work early, and I got in trouble. I didn't understand the nonverbal communication. Another time, I went to a movie theater, and first I went to the movie theater. I asked the staff, "Can I buy snacks and drinks at the kombini and bring it into the movie theater?" And the staff said, I'm not sure. Difficult," like that. And for me, I didn't understand that meant no, please don't do that. So I went to the kombini, I bought some snacks and drinks, and I brought it into the movie theater. And then another staff member told me, "Excuse me, you can't bring snacks and drinks into the movie theater. It's a rule." And I thought, well, the man at the front, the staff at the front of the movie theater, like, he didn't say no. So I was very confused. That was really, really early in coming to Japan. I didn't know the rules and I didn't know nonverbal communication. So I'm glad that after living here for many years, I could understand. I can understand if the answer is no, or if the Japanese person is being polite. And actually, I started using it too. If someone asks me a question, or if I want to tell somebody politely, I don't command them. I usually try to be very, like, non-direct. And that's not the American way. That's kind of not the American style. So my behavior has been influenced by Japanese nonverbal communication. Okay, let's look at the vocab words for this article. And we have 5 vocabulary words. The first word is transmission, causing something to pass from one person or place to another. So when we talked about nonverbal in the right here, transmission. The transmission of messages or signals. So passing something from one person to another, passing a message. Okay, next is veiled. Veiled. Something expressed in an indirect way, not openly expressed or declared. In Japanese, in Japanese they say tatemae honne, and tatemae is in English called the veiled expression. So, kind of hidden or not so direct. Okay, next is encountered, to unexpectedly be faced with something. So, in the article, I said, I encountered many uncomfortable or confusing situations. So, of course, it was unexpected. I didn't know it was going to happen, and it made me a little uncomfortable. Next, tilting. Okay, so I said that the coworker tilted his head. So when you tilt something, you move into a slope. So as you can see, my face is now a slope. So moving something into a sloping position. Okay, finally, the last word is frustrated. Feeling or expressing distress and annoyance resulting from an inability to change or achieve something. In the article, I said that the experiment, the young people couldn't speak English and they often felt frustrated because of because the traditional communication methods didn't work. They couldn't change the situation, and they wanted to communicate, but they were frustrated. All right, and then finally we have our 5 discussion questions. So let's check it out. Discussion question number 1. What are some nonverbal communications people use in your country? Or people in your country use. So let me know something Japanese people do, or if you're from another country, what they do as well. So some nonverbal communication people in your country use. Number 2, have you ever seen a nonverbal communication used on a trip that wasn't used in your country? Okay, number 3, if you can't speak the same language as someone, how will you communicate with them? So I'm talking about you specifically. Tell me how you would try to communicate with them if you couldn't speak the same language. Okay, and number 4, are there different communication styles in older versus younger people, and what are they? So I think we talked about cultural differences in the 3 countries, Morocco, America, and China, and also the nonverbal differences between American people and Japanese people. But I want to know if you guys think that in your country, so for example, in Japan, do older Japanese people have different communication styles than younger Japanese people? It can be verbal or nonverbal. Both is okay. All right. So, are there different communication styles in older versus younger people? And tell me an example. Like, what are they? Okay, and finally, I want you guys to finish these sentences, then explain your answer. Basically, I want you to choose one and then explain why you think so. Westerners probably think Japanese people are patient or impatient. Which do you think? Westerners meaning people from Western countries like America, Westerners probably think Japanese people are patient or impatient. So please choose one and then explain why you think so. And the second sentence is Westerners probably think Japanese people are direct or indirect. Okay, direct or indirect. And why do you think so? And what's the reason? Okay, I'm back. So I'll answer one of these questions, and the question I'll answer is number 2. Have you ever seen a nonverbal communication used on a trip that wasn't used in your country? And I'll tell you about something that happened when I went to Italy 2 years ago. So when I went to Italy, me and my wife, we decided not to stay in a hotel. we wanted to get a kind of a more real or authentic Italian experience. So we went on Airbnb, which is a website where you can rent a room or an apartment from an Italian homeowner. And so we used this method. And one of the homeowners, she lived in an apartment, and next to her apartment was the Airbnb that we rented. So she gave us a tour of the apartment. But when we first met her, she was a very nice lady who was a retired teacher, and she was about 62 or 63 years old, very friendly, and she spoke English very well. One thing that surprised us is when we first met her, the first moment we said, "Nice to meet you," she wrapped her arms around us and kissed both our cheeks and said, "Hello, nice to meet you." And this was, I understand that European countries like France and Italy and Spain, they kiss people on the cheek when they meet them, but I thought it's people they know. So I just met this woman for the first time in my life, so I was a little bit surprised, like, oh wow, already like I I get kisses on the cheek. My wife, who's Japanese, was very surprised because not only did she not know this information, but also this is very rare and probably uncomfortable for a lot of Japanese people. So she, of course, we're in Italy. We're trying to do the communication and cultural style as Italian people. So, of course, my wife hugged and kissed the woman on the cheeks. But we were a little surprised by that. And we talked about it later. So, it's a nice memory from Italy, but it was a little surprising. Okay, guys, thank you for watching today's lesson. As you know, I love studying about human behavior and psychology, and this topic I found was very interesting, how we show our communication style with our bodies. Thank you for watching, and again, I'm looking forward to everyone's responses. I always try to respond, so please send your answers, and I'll respond to everyone. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.